What if I told you that hidden within the heart of Central Sulawesi lies a land whose story began long before Indonesia became a nation? A land where ancient kingdoms rose independently, where mighty empires competed for influence, where colonial ambitions reshaped history, and where breathtaking mountains, fertile valleys, and crystal clear lakes became silent witnesses to centuries of transformation. This is Poso Regency. Far beyond the headlines and beyond the destinations that dominate international travel guides, Poso is one of Indonesia's most historically significant and geographically extraordinary regions. Covering an area of more than 7,112 square kilometers and home to over 253,000 people as of 2024, Poso stretches across a remarkable landscape of towering mountains, dense tropical rainforests, fertile plains, and one of Southeast Asia's oldest freshwater lakes. Every corner of this regency tells a story that has shaped the identity of Central Sulawesi for generations. But the true story of Poso begins centuries before modern maps were ever drawn. Long before colonial administrators arrived and before Indonesia declared its independence, the people of this region lived under the rule of several independent kingdoms. Unlike many regions that were united under a single, powerful monarch, the territory that would eventually become Poso was divided among 6 separate kingdoms. These were the Kingdom of Poso, the Kingdom of Napu, the Kingdom of Mori, the Kingdom of Tojo, the Kingdom of Una, and the Kingdom of Bungku. Each kingdom governed its own territory, maintained its own traditions, and developed its own political structures. Although they shared cultural connections and occupied neighboring lands, they were not united under one central authority. Each kingdom followed its own path, while adapting to the ever-changing balance of power across Sulawesi. Yet even these independent kingdoms did not exist in complete isolation. To the south, the powerful Kingdom of Luwu, centered in what is now Palopo in South Sulawesi, extended its influence across much of southern Poso. Luwu was one of the oldest and most respected kingdoms in Sulawesi, renowned for its maritime trade, political strength, and influence over surrounding territories. For many southern communities, allegiance to Luwu brought both protection and economic opportunity. Meanwhile, the northern regions of Poso fell under the influence of the Kingdom of Sigi, whose rulers governed from the fertile valleys west of present-day Palu. Sigi played a vital role in maintaining political stability across northern central Sulawesi and established close relationships with many inland communities. Further east, another powerful force shaped the destiny of the region. The Kingdom of Ternate, one of the greatest maritime empires in the Indonesian archipelago, extended its authority over Bungku and many surrounding islands. During the height of the spice trade, Ternate controlled vast commercial networks that connected eastern Indonesia with merchants from China, Arabia, India, and eventually Europe. Its influence reached far beyond the Maluku Islands, making even the eastern territories of Poso part of a much larger regional economy driven by valuable spices and international commerce. As a result, the land we now call Poso became a crossroads where multiple political powers, cultures, and trade routes intersected. Rather than existing on the margins of history, Poso stood at the meeting point of some of the most influential kingdoms in Sulawesi. Life during this era revolved around agriculture, fishing, forest resources, and trade between inland communities and coastal settlements. Rivers became natural highways, connecting villages deep within the mountains to coastal ports. Oral traditions preserved ancestral knowledge, while customary law governed daily life and maintained harmony among diverse ethnic groups. Generations grew up surrounded by landscapes that provided everything they needed. Fertile valleys supported rice cultivation. Forests supplied timber, medicinal plants, and wildlife. Lakes and rivers sustained thriving fishing communities. Nature was not simply a resource, it was woven into the spiritual beliefs, cultural identity, and survival of the people. For centuries, this balance endured, but the arrival of European colonial powers would forever change the destiny of Poso. By the late 19th century, the Dutch East Indies government had begun expanding its authority across the northern regions of Sulawesi. Around 1880, Dutch officials intensified their efforts to establish direct control over Central Sulawesi. Their objective was clear. They intended to weaken the long-standing influence of local kingdoms such as Luwu and Sigi, while bringing the entire region under colonial administration. This transition did not happen overnight. The Dutch gradually negotiated treaties, established military outposts, reorganized local governments, and introduced new administrative systems that slowly replaced centuries of indigenous political structures. Traditional rulers remained in place in many areas, but their authority increasingly depended upon colonial approval rather than independent sovereignty. The old kingdoms still existed, but they no longer exercised absolute power. Instead, they became part of a new political order designed by the colonial government. For local communities, these changes affected nearly every aspect of daily life. New taxation systems emerged, administrative boundaries were redrawn, infrastructure slowly expanded. Missionary activities increased throughout the region, bringing new educational institutions and healthcare services alongside profound cultural changes. Although colonial rule introduced modern administrative concepts, it also imposed foreign authority over societies that had governed themselves for generations. Poso was entering an entirely new chapter of its history, and this transformation would eventually lay the foundation for the modern regency that exists today. By 1918, Dutch control over Central Sulawesi had become firmly established. What had once been a collection of independent kingdoms connected by ancient traditions was now being reshaped into a structured colonial territory governed through European administrative systems. The transformation was no longer gradual, it had become official. The Dutch government began organizing civil administration across the region, replacing centuries of localized governance with bureaucratic institutions designed to strengthen colonial authority. Yet the transition was carefully calculated. Rather than eliminating the traditional rulers entirely, the Dutch chose to preserve many of the existing royal houses while placing them under colonial supervision. These kingdoms became known as self-governing territories, political entities that retained limited authority over customary affairs, but ultimately answered to the Dutch administration. Traditional customs and indigenous laws continued to exist, but they operated within boundaries defined by colonial regulations. It was a delicate balance between preserving local legitimacy and consolidating foreign control. Between 1905 and 1918, the territory of Poso itself was divided between two colonial jurisdictions. Parts of the region were incorporated into the Manado Residency, while areas such as Colonadale and Bunku were administered separately. This division reflected the Dutch strategy of organizing territories according to administrative efficiency rather than historical or cultural unity. Then came another major reorganization. In 1919, the colonial government united the territories of Poso under the Manado Residency. Central Sulawesi was divided into two principal administrative regions known as Afdeling. One was Afdeling Donggala, with its capital in Donggala. The other was Afdeling Poso, governed from the town of Poso itself. Each Afdeling was headed by an assistant resident, a senior colonial official responsible for maintaining order, collecting taxes, supervising economic activities, and implementing Dutch policies throughout the region. For the first time in history, Poso emerged as an important administrative centre for much of Central Sulawesi. Government offices expanded, roads gradually connected isolated settlements, river transportation became increasingly organised, coastal ports handled growing volumes of agricultural products and forest resources destined for larger trading centres across the Dutch East Indies. Yet beneath these visible changes, traditional life continued. Farmers still cultivated rice in fertile valleys surrounded by mountains. Fishermen continued casting their nets into rivers and lakes that had sustained generations before them. Families gathered to celebrate harvest festivals, weddings, and ceremonies rooted in customs far older than colonial rule itself. The people of Poso adapted to change without abandoning the cultural foundations that defined their identity. As the decades passed, the winds of change began sweeping across the entire Indonesian archipelago. National consciousness was growing. Across Java, Sumatra, Sulawesi, and countless other islands, educated Indonesians began envisioning a future free from colonial domination. Ideas of unity, independence, and self-determination spread from city to city, inspiring leaders and ordinary citizens alike. Although geographically distant from Batavia and other colonial centres, Poso was not isolated from these historic developments. News travelled through traders, missionaries, teachers, government officials, and local leaders. Conversations about the future of the archipelago reached even remote communities nestled among the mountains and forests of Central Sulawesi. Then came the dramatic upheaval of the Second World War. Japanese occupation shattered Dutch colonial authority across Indonesia. Although the occupation brought hardship, suffering, and uncertainty, it also permanently weakened European control over the archipelago. When Japan surrendered in 1945, a new political reality emerged. Indonesia proclaimed its independence. The struggle to transform that declaration into a functioning nation would take years of negotiation, conflict, and determination. Every region faced unique challenges in building new governmental institutions while redefining its place within the young republic. Central Sulawesi was no exception. On December 2, 1948, an important milestone was reached with the establishment of the autonomous region of Central Sulawesi. This new administrative entity brought together the former afdeling of Donggala and Poso under a regional government headquartered in the town of Poso. For the people of Poso, this moment represented far more than another bureaucratic adjustment. For generations, the region had been governed by kings, then by colonial officials. Now, for the first time, local leadership was beginning to take shape within an emerging Indonesian political framework. The new autonomous region consisted of 3 major administrative divisions, each supervised by officials known during that era as heads of administrative districts. These districts encompassed a remarkable diversity of landscapes and cultures. The Poso division included the traditional territories of Poso Larga, Lore, Tojo, and Una Una. The Bungku and Mori division administered the historic lands of Bungku and Mori. Meanwhile, the Luwuk division oversaw the Bangai region, linking coastal communities with the broader administrative network of Central Sulawesi. Alongside these divisions stood Donggala, Palu, Toli Toli, and Parigi, each contributing to the political and economic development of the region. Although these names may appear today as ordinary administrative units on a map, each represents centuries of history, distinct cultural traditions, and communities whose identities were shaped by mountains, rivers, forests, coastlines, and the enduring resilience of their people. The foundations of modern Central Sulawesi were being laid. and at the very heart of this transformation stood Poso, a region that had evolved from a landscape of independent kingdoms into one of the most important administrative and historical centers in the province. But the greatest political transformation was still ahead. The decisions made during the following decade would permanently define the borders of modern Poso Regency and shape the future of millions of people across Central Sulawesi. As Indonesia entered the 1950s, the young republic faced one of the greatest challenges in its history. Independence had been declared, but building a nation across more than 17,000 islands required far more than political freedom. It demanded a new system of government, new administrative boundaries, and institutions capable of serving millions of people spread across one of the most geographically diverse countries on Earth. For Central Sulawesi, this was a defining era. Leaders from across the region understood that the future could no longer rely on colonial structures. A new administration had to reflect the aspirations of the people themselves while preserving the unique cultural identities that had existed for centuries. In 1949, an important political milestone was achieved with the establishment of the Central Sulawesi Regional People's Representative Council. This institution gave local leaders a stronger voice in shaping the region's future and marked another significant step toward democratic governance. The creation of the autonomous region of Central Sulawesi did not happen by accident. It was the result of years of discussion, negotiation, and determination by traditional rulers, community leaders, and representatives from across the region. One of the most significant moments came during the Congress of the Kings of Central Sulawesi, held in Parigi on October 13th and 14th, 1948. Representatives from various kingdoms gathered with a common vision. Despite their different histories, traditions, and territories, they shared one powerful belief. Central Sulawesi deserved the opportunity to stand on its own within the emerging political landscape of Indonesia. Their collective voice carried enormous significance. It demonstrated that unity could be built without erasing cultural diversity. Ancient kingdoms that had once governed independently now chose cooperation over separation, placing the future of their people above centuries of political division. This spirit of unity became one of the defining foundations of modern Central Sulawesi. To lead the newly established autonomous region, Rajawali Pushadan, who had served as chairman of the Council of Kings, was appointed as the head of the autonomous region of Central Sulawesi. His leadership symbolized the transition from traditional royal authority toward a modern regional government, while still honoring the historical legacy of the kingdoms that had shaped the region for generations. The momentum continued. In 1952, the Indonesian government issued Government Regulation No. 33, formally strengthening the autonomous administration of Central Sulawesi. The territory was reorganized into two major autonomous regions. The first was the autonomous region of Poso, which included the former administrative areas of Poso, Luwuk Banggai, and Colonadale, with the town of Poso serving as its capital. The second was the autonomous region of Donggala, consisting of Donggala, Palu, Parigi, and Toli Toli, with Palu as its administrative center. This restructuring was far more than a change on official maps. It reflected Indonesia's determination to bring government closer to its people. Public services became more accessible, regional planning became more effective. Local development could now respond to the unique needs of each community rather than relying on distant colonial administrations. For Poso, this period marked the beginning of a new identity. No longer simply remembered as a historic kingdom or colonial district, it was emerging as a modern center of administration, education, commerce, and regional leadership. Yet history continued to evolve. Only a few years later, another landmark decision permanently reshaped the political geography of Central Sulawesi. In 1959, through Law Number 29 of 1959, the vast autonomous region of Poso was officially divided into two separate regencies. One became the modern Poso Regency, with the town of Poso as its capital. The other became Banggai Regency, with Luwuk serving as its capital. This administrative division recognized the enormous size and diversity of the territory. It allowed each regency to focus more effectively on local governance, economic development, infrastructure, education, healthcare, and public services tailored to the needs of their own communities. The decision also marked the birth of the Poso Regency recognized today. From this point forward, Poso began writing an entirely new chapter in its history. It would continue preserving the legacy of its ancient kingdoms while embracing the responsibilities of modern regional governance. But perhaps what makes Poso truly extraordinary is not found only in government records or historical documents. Its greatest treasure has always been its land. Stretching across more than 7,000 square kilometers, Poso possesses one of the most spectacular natural landscapes in Indonesia. Here, towering mountain ranges rise above dense tropical forests. Crystal clear rivers carve their way through fertile valleys. Mist drifts across highland villages each morning, creating breathtaking panoramas that seem almost untouched by time. Several districts, including North Law, Central Law, South Law, North Pomona, East Pomona, and South Pomona, are located within the cool highlands that define much of Poso's interior. These elevated landscapes enjoy a milder climate than many other regions of Indonesia, making them ideal for agriculture while supporting remarkable biodiversity found nowhere else on Earth. The mountains surrounding these districts are more than beautiful scenery. They are living ecosystems that protect watersheds, sustain countless species of plants and animals, and provide fresh water for communities throughout the region. For centuries, these highlands have also served as the homeland of indigenous communities, whose traditions remain deeply connected to nature. Their knowledge of forests, rivers, medicinal plants, farming techniques, and environmental stewardship has been passed down through generations, creating a cultural heritage that continues to enrich Poso today. This extraordinary harmony between people and nature remains one of the defining characteristics of the Regency. And beyond these mountains lies one of Indonesia's most breathtaking natural wonders, a lake so ancient, so vast, and so biologically unique that scientists consider it one of the most important freshwater ecosystems in Southeast Asia. Its story would become inseparable from the identity of Poso itself. That extraordinary natural wonder is Lake Poso. Resting peacefully in the heart of Central Sulawesi, Lake Poso is not simply another beautiful destination on Indonesia's map. It is one of the oldest lakes in the world, estimated by scientists to be millions of years old. Formed through ancient geological processes long before human civilization emerged, the lake has become a living museum of evolution, preserving species that exist nowhere else on Earth. Stretching for more than 30 kilometers in length and reaching remarkable depths, Lake Poso is among Indonesia's largest and deepest freshwater lakes. Its crystal clear waters mirror the surrounding mountains, while gentle breezes sweep across its vast surface from sunrise until dusk. Standing on its shores, it is easy to understand why generations of local communities have regarded this place with deep respect. The lake is far more than a breathtaking landscape. It is the lifeblood of Poso. Its waters nourish surrounding farmland, sustain local fisheries, provide clean water for countless communities, and support an ecosystem that has evolved in remarkable isolation over millions of years. Scientists continue to study Lake Poso because of its extraordinary biodiversity. Many fish, shrimp, snails, and other aquatic species found within its waters are endemic, meaning they cannot naturally be found anywhere else on the planet. These unique organisms offer valuable insights into evolution and environmental adaptation, making Lake Poso internationally significant for biological research. Surrounding the lake, lush forests blanket the hillsides, creating habitats for countless birds, mammals, reptiles, and insects that contribute to one of Indonesia's richest ecological landscapes. Nature and humanity have coexisted here for centuries. Communities along the shores of Lake Poso have developed traditions that reflect a profound understanding of the environment. Fishing practices, agricultural methods, customary ceremonies, and local wisdom have all been shaped by the rhythms of the lake itself. For many families, the lake is more than a source of income. It is part of their identity. Children grow up learning to navigate its calm waters. Fishermen begin their mornings before sunrise as mist rises gently above the surface. Farmers rely on the surrounding watershed to sustain fertile fields that have supported generations. Every sunrise over Lake Poso tells the same timeless story, a story of harmony between people and nature. Beyond the lake, Poso's landscape continues to reveal astonishing diversity. Dense tropical rainforests cover vast areas of the Regency, forming part of one of the largest remaining forest ecosystems in Sulawesi. These forests act as enormous natural reservoirs, capturing rainfall, protecting river systems, regulating local climates, and providing refuge for countless wildlife species. Among these forests stand towering hardwood trees that have watched centuries unfold beneath their branches. Hidden within the undergrowth are orchids blooming in brilliant colors, rare medicinal plants known only to local communities, and countless insects whose ecological roles remain essential to maintaining the delicate balance of the forest. High above the canopy, birds fill the morning air with songs that have echoed through these mountains for thousands of years. This remarkable biodiversity makes Poso one of the ecological treasures of Indonesia. The region also plays a crucial role in conservation efforts across Sulawesi, helping preserve habitats that support species found nowhere else on Earth. Yet nature is only one chapter of Poso's remarkable story. Its cultural diversity is equally extraordinary. For generations, numerous indigenous communities have called this region home, each preserving languages, customs, music, dances, traditional architecture, and ceremonies that reflect centuries of history. The Pomona people, among the largest ethnic groups in the region, have played an important role in shaping Poso's cultural identity. Alongside many other communities, they have preserved traditions rooted in mutual cooperation, respect for elders, and harmony with the natural world. Traditional ceremonies continue to celebrate harvests, marriages, and important milestones, strengthening bonds between families and reminding younger generations of the values inherited from their ancestors. Music and dance remain central expressions of community life. Colorful traditional clothing reflects local craftsmanship that has been refined over generations. Handmade woven textiles, carved wooden artworks, and other traditional crafts demonstrate both artistic excellence and cultural resilience. These traditions continue to survive not because they are displayed in museums, but because they remain living parts of everyday life. Hospitality also defines the spirit of Poso. Visitors are often welcomed not simply as tourists, but as honored guests, invited to experience local traditions, taste regional cuisine, and witness the warmth that has long characterized communities throughout Central Sulawesi. This enduring spirit of togetherness has allowed Poso to preserve its cultural heritage despite centuries of political change, colonial rule, modernization, and social transformation. Today, Poso continues to move forward, while honouring the legacy of its past. Agriculture remains one of the foundations of the local economy, with fertile lands producing rice, cocoa, coffee, coconuts, cloves, and a variety of tropical crops that support thousands of families. Forestry, fisheries, livestock, and small-scale industries also contribute significantly to regional development. In recent years, tourism has emerged as another promising sector. Travellers seeking authentic experiences increasingly discover Poso's untouched landscapes, pristine lakes, cool mountain air, waterfalls hidden deep within tropical forests, and cultural traditions that remain remarkably authentic. Unlike destinations transformed by mass tourism, much of Poso still feels wonderfully undiscovered. It offers something increasingly rare in today's world, a chance to experience nature as it truly is, to hear forests instead of traffic, to witness stars instead of city lights, to meet communities whose greatest wealth is not measured by skyscrapers or shopping malls, but by generations of wisdom, resilience, and an enduring connection to the land they call home. This is the true soul of Poso, a land where history lives within ancient kingdoms, where mountains protect timeless traditions, where one of the world's oldest lakes continues to sustain life, and where every sunrise carries the promise that the greatest stories are often found far beyond the places the world already knows.